Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Manufacturing Business Association's Member Engagement Briefing, together with work partners on help for the holidays. My name is Patty Welther, and I'm on staff here at the MBA. Now, as a reminder, we are recording today's webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or put something in the chat box. Both of those are located at the very top. And with me today, I have Cindy Grindle and Whitney DiStefano from Work Partners. And without further ado, I'm going to send the reins over to Cindy. You're first.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Cindy Grindle with Work Partners Life Solutions, and the title of today's workshop is Help for the Holidays. Holidays are a time when many of us feel stressed with all of the things that get added to our to-do list, right? When you add in all those extra demands to an already busy schedule, it really can feel overwhelming at times. So today we're going to talk about some ideas to help you manage stress and enjoy the holidays you celebrate. And that could be the holidays that are coming up in the next few weeks or months, but really some of these suggestions apply to holidays that you celebrate throughout the year. So the first step is really to think about what makes the holidays stressful for you. What interferes with your ability to enjoy the holiday season? And just take a moment to think about that for a moment. What interferes with your ability to enjoy yourself on the holiday? Do you get overwhelmed with shopping, decorating, cooking, cleaning, maybe hosting or entertaining? Do you struggle to create the perfect holiday for family and friends? Are you trying to live up to some of those picture perfect images, right? That we see either on TV, maybe in social media, or even are you trying to live up to someone else's expectations? Is your calendar so filled with activities and commitments that you really just run from one thing to the next with no time to really enjoy yourself or relax? Or have you experienced a loss? Or are there other circumstances that make it difficult for you to celebrate this year? Can any of you identify with any of those statements? If so, you are certainly not alone. So today, again, we're going to explore how we can address some of these issues. What can we do to decrease the stress and find more balance and meaning? And a good place really to start with that is by examining your expectations. So think about what your goals are. And are they realistic? Sometimes the vision we create in our mind really doesn't fit our current circumstances, our finances, our schedules, or the other demands we have in our life. So let go of unrealistic expectations. Don't compare yourself to others or try to live up to some type of impossible standards. When you think about it, I know many of you will know this to be true. This time of year, we really get inundated with images of that perfect holiday, elaborate meals and table settings, beautifully decorated homes. We see these on commercials, on social media, in ads in magazines. But does your table really have to look like Martha Stewart's or your home like the cover of House Beautiful for you to enjoy the holiday? So take a moment now just to think about what is truly important to you. Is it for everything to look perfect? Or maybe it's to find meaning in the reason for the holiday. Maybe it's to enjoy time with family and friends or relax on your time off. What's important to us may differ from person to person, but once you identify what's important to you or your underlying goal, then focus your time and energy on that and let go of some of those other things. Another way to identify unrealistic expectations is to be aware of those shoulds and have tos. So when we use those simple phrases or simple words, it's often an indication that we're expecting too much of ourselves. So, for example, do you tell yourself, I should be able to do all this? Do you believe the holidays should be the same each year? Or that you have to do things the way you always have done them? Do you expect everything should go according to plan? Sometimes with unrealistic expectations, we set ourselves up for stress or disappointment because the reality is things change and things happen, right? Your circumstances today might be different than they were in previous years. Maybe your work schedule is more hectic, or your finances are tighter, or you're feeling exhausted from all of the challenges you faced this past year or so. Maybe you're caring for someone who's ill, or you've experienced the death of a loved one. So it's important to adjust your plans to accommodate what's happening in your life right now. And another suggestion is to be flexible. Don't let that small stuff interfere with your ability to find joy in the moment. I can tell you from personal experience, as I look back over some of the holidays I've celebrated over the years, turkeys don't always cook on time, pipes freeze, weather changes, right? So learn to laugh and adapt. We can all probably think of a time in our lives when what seemed like a disaster at the moment later became maybe a favorite holiday memory, or at least a funny holiday memory, right? Remember when mom burned the turkey and we had to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and we roasted marshmallows in the fireplace? Wasn't that the best year? So the idea with relaxing your expectations is that accepting that holidays don't have to be perfect to be enjoyable or meaningful will allow you to celebrate in a way that works best for you this year. And letting go of that idea of perfect also allows us to respect our limits and be more realistic about what we can reasonably do or accomplish. So be careful not to overcommit yourself, and that's physically, emotionally, or financially. We'll talk about all of those. But you don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to accept every invitation that you get. It's okay to say no or to set limits and focus on your priorities. So again, if we go back to that idea of what's meaningful, start by asking yourself what the most important or meaningful aspects of the holiday are for you. If you only had enough time or enough energy, enough finances for a few things, what would you want those to be? What's most important to you? Is it gathering people together for a meal? Is there a tradition or an activity that's especially meaningful to you, that if you couldn't do anything else, that's the one thing you'd like to be able to do? Or what is it about the holiday that gives you joy? We often spend too much time and resources on those lower priorities or obligations that really don't hold much meaning for us. So prioritize what matters most to you. And then ask yourself, what can you change? What can you delegate? Maybe even what can you eliminate this year? For example, if you're hosting, Could you maybe invite everyone to bring a favorite dish and then share the recipe? That might be a nice way, not just of delegating, some things on your to-do list, making it a little bit more manageable, but also a nice way of creating some meaningful moments by having people share why that recipe is important to them or what's meaningful to them about that, why it's their favorite. Or could you consider ordering the holiday meal from a local caterer or restaurant? If you're not up to entertaining this year, is there someone else who could host? Or could you go out for dinner this year? Instead of decorating the whole house inside and out, could you maybe just pick one room to focus on, that room where people usually gather, and use just a few simple decorations? In addition to a to-do list, we all have a to-do list, right? But is there anything that you can take off your plate? Could you make a to-don't list by taking some things off your plate for now? And I really want to note here that, sometimes we fear doing that, right? We say, well, I don't want to stop doing that. That used to be something that I enjoyed. Doesn't mean you can never do it again. It's really thinking about what fits your life, your schedule, your finances this year. So what tasks, events, or commitments aren't necessary this year for you to find joy and meaning in the holiday? And another suggestion is to turn some of those tasks into fun or meaningful activities. Are there items on that to-do list that you could that could serve a dual purpose? So delegating, but also at the same time creating some meaningful or memorable moments. For example, maybe make decorating a family activity. The immediate family, or maybe even invite some family and friends in for the day. Everyone pitches in, gets all the decorating done. And then when you're done, do something to celebrate. Maybe make some hot cocoa and snuggle up on the couch or watch a favorite holiday program or movie. Ask your children. That's another way to delegate, is ask your children to maybe make the table decorations this year. Kids love to be involved in that. And sometimes when they make something that's special and it's there at the table at the meal time, and people around the table comment on that, that's a really lovely experience for everyone. Or could you invite friends or family over to bake ahead of time, or to help to prepare the meal together as you share in some good conversation, maybe even a glass of wine? And think about some holiday hacks that might help. Find ways to make tasks easier or less time consuming. And if any of you have that, any of you that are joining the call today, if you have a favorite holiday hack, if there's something that you have done to help save some time, save some money, make things a little easier and less stressful for any particular holiday, I invite you to share those in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that. Or again, you can feel free to unmute your mic or raise your hand. But, a couple of ideas for holiday hacks. If you're sending cards out for the holiday, use a card making app or website. I just discovered this in the last couple of weeks. There are actually some apps or websites that serve kind of a dual purpose. So you can enter in the gifts, your shopping list, and it acts as a shopping list manager. So it kind of monitors the gifts that you've already purchased and what you have left to get. But it also allows you to put in your budget. We're going to be talking about that in a moment, so that it kind of helps you keep track of that as well. Or another hack might just to be take advantage of free shopping offers. Any other ideas that anybody else wanted to share? Some tips that you have for saving time, saving money around the holidays? Well, again, if you have any, feel free to enter them in the chat and we'll look at those as they come in. So another way to manage holiday stress is to allow yourself some time to unplug from the hustle and bustle. Most of us already have a lot on our plates, and those additional activities and demands of the holidays really can be exhausting. So maybe if you have the day off, just the holiday itself, or maybe you've taken some additional vacation time, allow yourself to step out of work mode. When we're at work, we have a certain hectic pace that we keep, right? But holidays and time off in general is a time to kind of relax and let go of some of that pace. Step away from work. But also step away from that kind of frantic schedule and pace. Um, so try not to pack your calendar so full that you're constantly running from one thing to the next. Maybe allow some downtime in between activities. So for example, if you have a really busy day scheduled or planned, try to purposefully make that next day a little lighter just to create more of a balance and again give yourself some time to unplug. Also, maybe allow space to enjoy some of those simple moments, savoring a cup of coffee or tea before your day gets started, watching a favorite holiday movie or program, playing with your kids, when they're off from school, or taking some time to connect with a friend or a loved one. Some of those simple joys are part of what makes the holiday time special. And take some time to decompress. Even if you set aside 15, maybe 20 minutes of downtime or alone time, just to do something that calms you or relaxes you. Maybe it's listening to music, reading, taking a hot bath, snuggling on the couch, or sitting in a chair by the fire. But just allow yourself some time in between the running around to create a sense of balance and step out of the hustle and bustle. And also, kind of in line with that, is to try to maintain some healthy routines. If you're like most of us, not just around the holidays, but any time of year, the more hectic our schedules get, the more stressful our lives become. What happens? Most of us stop doing the things that usually help us manage stress, right? Think about when you practice your best stress management practices, whether that's eating right, exercising, taking time to relax. For most of for most of us, that's when we're not under a lot of stress, right? And that makes sense when life gets hectic or crazy. Sometimes we have less time to do those self-care routines, but don't abandon them completely. Maybe try to stick to your regular bedtimes if you have kids, regular nap times or meal times as much as possible. If you don't have time for your regular exercise routine, maybe think about how you can incorporate some kind of physical activity into your plans. Go ice skating, skiing, play a game of family football before the holiday meal. Or just invite a friend for a walk. Sometimes that serves kind of a dual purpose as well. It allows you to get in a little physical activity, but it also allows you some time to connect with someone that you care about and spend some time catching up. And be mindful of what you eat and drink. Now, that certainly doesn't mean you can't indulge in some of your favorite holiday treats or foods, but just don't overdo it. And remember to stay hydrated. That's another kind of routine that we sometimes forget about. One suggestion would be to try drinking a large glass of water before you go to a holiday party or even before you sit down for a big meal. It's a way of keeping hydrated. Sometimes having that glass of water also helps you to feel a little fuller, so you're less likely to overeat. So keeping just some simple, healthy routines like these in place will help you to manage the stress of the holidays and maintain some of your energy. One thing we've mentioned already, but we'll spend a little more time on it now. Another source of holiday stress for many of us, which is finances. So these are just a few tips for keeping a rein on your holiday spending. And the first idea is to make a budget and stick to it. Now, some of you may work with a budget throughout the year. That may be one of the ways you manage your personal finances. So that's great if that's a regular routine of yours. Just make sure that you include a line, so a separate line item in your expense records to plan ahead for any additional expenses you might incur during the holidays, whether that's, a little extra money for special meals, for gifts, maybe for travel if you plan to travel over the holidays. So it's a way of planning ahead and budgeting for that ahead of time. If you don't normally work with a budget, that's okay. You can still think about creating a budget just for your holiday spending. All you would do is decide in advance what you can afford to spend without putting yourself in the hole. And then think about how you can stay within that budget without giving up any holiday sentiment or meaning. I know a lot of people who look for discounts or sales throughout the year, so they kind of tuck things away when they cost less or when they find a good deal. And that's one of the ways they have of working within their budget or saving money. Another idea would be to set a dollar limit for gifts that you exchange with coworkers, with family, with friends. Or consider alternatives to individual gift giving. Some of us get overwhelmed with thinking that we have to give every person individually in our lives a gift. My family, for example, does a gift lottery. So anyone aged 18 or older, we all put our name in a hat. Used to be an actual hat. Now we use an online resource, and we each draw one name. So maybe out of 15 people, instead of buying 15 separate people gifts, I get one name that I draw, and that's the person that I buy a gift for this year. And I will be honest with you, it hasn't taken away any of the sentiment or meaning of the holiday. I actually enjoy having a little bit more time to focus on that person in particular and really give some thought to what I might want to get them this year. And in addition to the lottery, we also, as a group, set a dollar limit for the gifts that we buy. Or another idea would be to make one gift for a group of people. Maybe bake a batch of cookies for everyone at work to share. Or make a donation to a charity in honor of a group of friends or a group of your colleagues. Or consider how you can give in more meaningful ways. People often cherish the gift of time spent together or something that reflects the meaning of the relationship, a framed photograph, a handwritten letter or poem, a DVD of family videos. Those are just a few ideas of giving gifts that are meaningful. But the idea is that meaningful gifts do not have to be expensive. Think about your own experience. Think about over the years some of the most meaningful gifts that you've received. Were they the ones that were typically or necessarily the most expensive? And if you have children, it's a good idea to involve them in this discussion. It's a great opportunity to teach kids about managing finances, but also finding meaning in the holiday. So invite them to contribute their ideas. What do you think we ought to get Grandma and Grandpa this year? What do you think they'd really love, or something that would be special to them, or something that would really be meaningful to them? So elicit their ideas and also engage them in using their talents to create gifts that are from the heart. And of course, the other idea would be to look for free or affordable activities. There are lots to choose from. Check your local community listings or faith communities for any programs that are being offered around that holiday. In the wintertime, take advantage of the great outdoors, even in the summertime holidays. But in the wintertime, ice skating, sled riding, caroling, maybe start a snowman contest in your neighborhood. Or plan some fun activities at home, a family game night. Where you make popcorn and hot chocolate and sit around and play a game or maybe read some holiday stories or watch a favorite movie or program. So the idea is to keep in mind, it's usually the way you spend the holidays that makes them meaningful, right? Not how much you spend. And we've been talking a little bit about how spending time with family and friends is part of what makes our lives and certainly the holidays meaningful. But that doesn't mean that can't be stressful at times when we're spending maybe more time than we usually do with people in our lives. There may be conflicts or other issues that keep some people apart for most of the year. And holiday gatherings are usually not the best time to try to resolve those. So if that's important to you, if there's something that needs to be discussed or resolved, try doing that ahead of time in a more private space, either through phone calls, maybe meeting one-to-one, but in a space where you can really focus your full attention on mending the relationship or resolving the issue without distractions or interference or without an audience that you usually have at the holiday gathering. If you're concerned about potential drama when everyone is together, here are a few other ideas to think about. And the first is to focus on what connects you, not what divides you. So avoid conversation topics that automatically spark arguments within your group. Politics, religion, maybe it's what sports team is the best, right? Instead, do something that brings you together. Maybe get everyone involved in the cooking or playing a board game. Or maybe get everyone involved in watching some family videos or going through old photo albums. Those are often kinds of things that create bonds between people. And plan ahead for how to respond to potential conflicts. So if there's someone that you know is going to be there for the holiday gathering that you know really knows how to push your buttons, right? They just have a way of saying things that always gets under your skin. Rehearse ahead of time some simple responses that will help you deflect the conversation or stay out of the thick of things. For example, if I know that my Aunt Mary has a way of, saying things that just really irritate me, ahead of time, I can think about, I know she's probably going to say this. What could I say in response to kind of keep me out of it? We can't control what other people say or do, but we can try to manage our own responses and avoid, potential conflict, especially during a time when everyone's together. So maybe I'll think to say, well, she says that, I'll say to her, yeah, that's something to think about, Aunt Mary, or maybe that's something you and I can talk about another time. So think about those responses, plan ahead for them, use them, and then change the subject or move on to something else. Maybe go help in the kitchen or offer to take the kids out to play. I often, when I used to do counseling, I used to talk about this, not just for the holidays, but I often used to talk about, uh, how to avoid some things. And my way of thinking about it, one of the metaphors I often think about is think like a fish. How does think about a fish that gets to be a big fish in a pond? How does it get to be a big fish? It doesn't take the bait, right? So we know a big fish in the pond knows that every day someone's coming out in a boat and is going to throw a line, and all that fish has to do is bite on that hook and they get reeled in, right? So know that those lines are coming. That's what we're talking about in terms of avoiding potential drama, is know those things are coming and think about some ways you can avoid biting that hook. And the other thing is to accept people for who they are, flaws and all. When we talked a little bit earlier about expectations, one of the things that a lot of us think about is that we expect things to be different just because it's the holidays. And that's wishful thinking, that's a good thought. It's a good wish to have, but it doesn't always happen. That's the reality. So keep in mind that we've all faced challenges, especially these past couple of years. And sometimes we don't really know the burdens that someone else is carrying. So sometimes it's those holiday gatherings and other times when we need to grant each other a little grace and some space. And finally, I think it's important as we talk about the holidays to remember that the holidays are not the most wonderful time of year for everyone. And this might be one of those years when you don't feel up to celebrating. Perhaps you've experienced a loss or an illness or the breakup of a relationship. Maybe you'll be alone for the holidays or separated from those you love. So, whatever your circumstances are, start just by acknowledging what you're feeling. Give yourself permission to grieve, to feel sad, to not feel as merry as some of the people are around you. I used to be, before I came to the employee assistance program, I used to be a grief counselor for a hospice. And there's a book about grief that was written a few years ago now. The author's name is Megan Devine. But the title of the book is what I wanted to share with you today. And the title is It's Okay That You're Not Okay. It's okay that you're not okay. And, the more I thought about that title, the more I thought that's a really good way of thinking about grief. Maybe a lot of other things that happen in our life. We shouldn't expect ourselves to be unaffected or to somehow find a way to be merry and put all that aside just because it's the holidays. So, what can you do? The idea is to do what works best for you. And one of those things might be connect with others who understand. Talk to a friend or a confidant. Know the people who you can be real with. Join a support group. There are groups for those who are grieving, for those who suffer from anxiety or depression. There are a lot of different types of support groups, both in person that meet in person and also that meet online. So maybe find some of those resources. Or if you're planning or if you're going to be alone for the holiday, maybe invite someone else who may be alone to join you, whether that's for a cup of coffee, maybe enjoy a meal together or do an activity together. Or find a support buddy. So someone in your life, it could be a colleague, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, but someone that you agree to kind of keep in touch with. Check in with each other periodically throughout the holiday and support and encourage one another. If you anticipate that the day will be difficult. So that's what sometimes happens with grief and other things that we experience in life. It's the day that we kind of dread, right? So think ahead of time about what might help you get through that day. For some of you, that might be keeping your schedule light, giving yourself some space to be alone, to grieve, or to have some time alone. That's what will help you get through the day. For others, it's the opposite. Sometimes, if being alone for the whole day feels like it will be too difficult, then make some plans to go somewhere. So it's really about listening to your instincts and doing what's best for you. When I used to do grief counseling, this is something that people who are grieving often talked about. People would say to me, Cindy, my family doesn't understand that I don't want to join them for the holiday festivities. It's too much for me. I can't think about spending the whole day, acting like I'm enjoying myself and happy when I'm really not. It's easier for me to just be by myself and give myself permission to feel whatever I'm feeling. And people don't always understand that, but again, it's about doing what's best for you. And what's best for each of us is different depending upon who we are and our needs. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's okay to make your plans tentative or to have a plan B. Sometimes it's hard to know what that day will bring. We don't know how we're going to feel on that day until we wake up that morning and it is that day. So you can tell people that you're planning to be there, but that you're going to have to wait and see how you feel that day. Or maybe another idea for a plan B would be to drive separately to an event or an activity or a meal or a gathering so that you can leave when you want to if it becomes too much for you. And one thing that I learned, again, I'll share a personal experience, is to don't be afraid to coach your friends and your family about what you need. And again, this is something I've learned from personal experience. Several years ago, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, died in June. And it was coming to be Thanksgiving time. November was rolling around. And my brother, who did not live in the same city as we did, said, I think I want to come home for Thanksgiving this year. It's important for me to be around people who love me and be around my family and friends, but I'm just not sure how the day is going to go. So he told us, he said, if during the day I need to get up and leave the room for a little bit, or there might be a time when I need to actually leave the house, take a drive, or go for a walk. Just let me do that. Don't try to follow me. I think he was speaking to me because, as a counselor, that would be my natural inclination. Oh, is he okay? Let me go see if he's okay. But he was really telling us that this is something that he had learned in those months about him and his grief and what he needed to do to help himself through those challenges. And I will tell you that was extremely helpful to me and to my family. If he had not told us that in advance, then we would have worried about him. We would have chased after him. But that day came, and there were a couple of times when he needed to just go off for a little bit and be by himself. But we knew that that's what he needed to do and that he was going to be okay. So don't be afraid to coach your family and friends or tell them what you've learned about yourself and what is going to be most helpful to you. And of course, reach out for support. Connect with your broader range of support, not just friends, family, colleagues, but maybe talk to a counselor or someone in your faith community, or even your PCP, your family doctor. Find resources we mentioned earlier. Find resources for support on the internet or through local community groups. So let me stop there and just ask, is there anything that any questions anybody has, any comments, any additional suggestions that you would like to make for how to make the holidays a little less stressful and find a little bit more meaning and joy in any of the holidays that you celebrate? Well, as we watch for any comments in the chat, before we end, and then Whitney will say a few things, but just take a moment to think about what you might take away from this discussion. What will you do to find balance and meaning this holiday season, or again with any holiday that you celebrate throughout the year? Will you let go of the idea of doing it all or creating the perfect holiday? Can you prioritize what's important to you and set limits on other tasks or commitments or obligations? Will you reserve a few moments each day to find some downtime, some peace, calm, or time to relax? Can you set a limit on holiday spending and find alternatives that cost less but still hold meaning? And can you give yourself permission to be who you are, where you are? And if you don't feel like celebrating this year, can you honor that and do whatever it is that's best for you? So having said that, I thank you for your time and attention today. Again, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to share those. But I'm going to turn that over now to Whitney, who will share a little bit more information to you about our services.
Thank you, Cindy. That was wonderful. It's definitely some tips that I need to keep in mind too as we head into the holiday season here. So thank you very much for that great training today. We appreciate it. So I just wanted to quickly introduce myself too. My name is Whitney DeStefano. I am a Life Solutions account manager. I work really closely with Patty and other members of the MBA to support and offer our EAP kind of solutions and services to many different clients up in your area, but also kind of around the area as well too. So I just wanted to quickly pull up a flyer that we have here and show you all just some of the services that we have available for you guys and kind of some of the reasoning behind it. So if anybody needs this flyer, we can certainly get that to you and provide a little bit more information. My contact information is on here as well, so feel free to reach out to me via email or phone if you have any questions on anything. Happy to help kind of answer those for you. So really over here, the main thing I really want to call out is just some of those great resources, support that we at Work Partners and our EAP solutions can provide to you and your employees. So not only do we offer those counseling services by phone, video, or in person, but we also have some amazing online tools and trainings. We have skill builders, webinars, some really great information. I should say a lot of great information up on our website that employees can access all the time. But we also have, community resources, referrals that we can send out as well. Like I mentioned, workshops, trainings, support specifically for supervisors that we can help with. And most recently, we've gotten a new digital tool, which is our RxWell app, which is really great. Support that people can use on their own, which is really great in the tech world that we have today. So those are just a few of kind of the great things that we can offer to your employees, as well as that 10% discount that we with working with the MBA you receive if you contract with us for those services. So some really great value behind EAP and how we can offer that to your employees. But this flyer is really great. It's really kind of great to show any leadership. If you had questions on anything, like I said, my contact information is all up here. So feel free to reach out. It goes into a little bit more detail on how we can support you and some of those things that we can do to help the employee population. This time, as Cindy was going through the training, it just reminded me, this time of year or around holidays, it can spark some different feelings for people. So this is a great time to kind of bring that conversation up with your employees or with leadership to kind of have those conversations about an employee assistance program. So again, we're here to kind of help support you and your employees. So please feel free to reach out if you have questions on anything, or reach out to Patty. She can definitely connect us with everything. And it's just really nice to kind of be here with you all today. So again, thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Patty, for having us. Patty, I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to add to close out today, but I just wanted to say thank you guys again. Great presentation. So yeah, glad to be here today.
That was a great presentation, Cindy. I took notes and hopefully I'll follow through on some of them.
Yeah.
But and thank you, Whitney, for giving the information on the EAP
Sure.
program. I'll be sending out the whole presentation. So if you want to share it with members of your staff, you certainly are welcome to do so. And with that, I'm going to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year
Yes.
from everyone at the MBA as well as the Work Partners. And I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.